take projection.
Welcome everybody to Taking On Sports. I am TD. That is Greg. Greg, how you doing, man?
All right, I'm good. How are you today, sir?
I'm pretty good, pretty good. Nice Sunday here in Birmingham. How's it out there in Nebraska?
Pretty good. It's supposed to be a little hot this week, but I guess it is still summertime. So,
Yeah, right. What's new? I guess we could say at least we're not in Southern California right now, getting battered by a
right?
tropical storm.
Oh, exactly.
Uh,
Which is real weird for that area.
it
But
was, man. I haven't really been paying attention to it, and I saw like something the other day that said like Southern California prepares for Tropical Storm Hillary, and I'm like, wait, what? Like I just assumed it
yeah,
was in the Gulf or the Atlantic somewhere.
right.
I guess.
Are you sure there's not talk about South Carolina?
Yeah, right. no, they misspelled
yeah,
that. Uh,
yeah,
yeah, I guess when you live in New Orleans like I did, you just kind of assume everything's coming right at you.
right.
But yeah, we are here, folks. Today, I guess the last part of our college football previews. Um, we're going to talk about Notre Dame and the mid majors today. They're the group of five, if you will. Just some teams that might spring up, surprise us, or make some noise, some highlights. Then maybe some quick predictions on conference champions, maybe some bold predictions if we got them, and then we'll do like we mentioned last week. We'll do a little college football playoff prediction, so you guys can bet against us accordingly. Maybe talk whatever news is going on this week. But yeah, and then I guess we have maybe a game start next weekend, right?
Next Saturday.
Yeah. By the time you hear this, you'll be 4 days away from football.
Man,
That's crazy. Yeah, time does fly. But as I mentioned, let's kick things off with the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. Second year under Coach Marcus Freeman. Uh, he did okay last year. It was a kind of a rocky start. They did play
yeah.
Ohio State pretty tightly in that first game, if I remember right, and then just really struggled on offense to get going. But looked like they had things turned around and going decent toward the end of the year. Got any thoughts on Notre
Oh
Dame, Greg?
yeah. Well, they rebounded nicely. I think they ended up winning. After that terrible Stanford loss, they really turned things around and then went. I think won seven of their last eight. Won their bowl game against the hot South Carolina team. So end of the season, how you would hope you would. If they can get things going in the first part of the year, I mean, this could be a good team. This year I think. Marcus Freeman, got an early struggle last year. That probably has helped him as a coach, just how to deal with that. But I think that they're going to be a good team there. Definitely did well in the transfer portal, bringing in Sam Hartman. That definitely will make you a contender.
Yeah, that was a huge, huge pickup for them. Of
hmm
course, their offensive coordinator, Tommy Rees, and their quarterback, Tyler Buckner, off to Alabama. So
Yeah,
they will have a new offensive coordinator this year. It is uh, Gerard Parker. He was promoted from within. He was their tight ends coach. He has some
tight ends
experience
coach.
as a co-offensive coordinator at West Virginia. Of course, they get Al Golden as their DC still. But yeah, you mentioned Sam Hartman. That's huge. That's probably one of the better
Yeah,
transfer portal pickups of the all season in all the country.
oh yeah, for sure.
And if you talk to Notre Dame fans, you read about them. This is the first time Notre Dame has like a real difference maker at quarterback since what, like Brady Quinn, Jimmy
Forever.
Clausen. Yeah.
Yeah, Ray Quinn.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I was thinking about that yesterday. I was kind of thinking, dang, they really haven't had a big name guy.
mhm,
And yeah, I guess Brady Quinn was kind of the last big name guy.
mhm. Yeah, exactly. A guy that could really put the team on his back.
Right,
They're still kind of missing kind of big name skill players, I guess. Um, we'll see
right.
what this group does. Jaden Thomas is their leading returning receiver, and he only had 25 catches last year.
Yeah.
Um, should be a decent run game. Uh, Defense should be pretty really good. Um, so yeah, you mentioned what 9-4. They ended up rebounding last year to that rocky start. Lost to Ohio State, then lost to Marshall to begin the year. Had that bad
Yeah.
loss at Stanford. They were 3-3. Then won five in a row before losing to USC, and then like you said, beating a hot South Carolina team in the Gator Bowl. This year, the schedule, I got one or two. Uh,
We have some couple of tricky games.
yeah, a couple of tricky games. A couple of
Uh,
their big games. They have a home date with USC October 14th, and then November 4th they go
yeah,
at Clemson.
yeah,
Um,
definitely some tricky ones. Start off the season. What next Saturday? Actually, there would in Dublin,
mm-hmm.
Ireland, there against Navy. I
Yep.
mean, Navy's kind of fallen off. For a while they were kind of a interesting team, but I think they should roll there. That the third game of the season, that should be an interesting one at NC State.
Mm-hmm.
Not exactly sure how the Wolfpack will look, but they're always they're kind of an underrated home advantage. I mean, they get pretty crazy there. So that'll we'll see what Notre Dame does there. But I mean, Sam Hartman familiar with that, so I mean that shouldn't phase him too much there for sure. well well known with that. Let's see, Central Michigan we know should be good. Notre Dame coming to South Bend. That'll of course big primetime game on NBC.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they hung with them last year. That's just when I just don't think that they have the athletes for it. But we'll see.
Yeah, that's just one thing that at home, seeing if they can make the difference because they kept it close last year until the end.
Yeah,
Ohio State was pretty
yeah. The
sloppy looking
defense
too.
kept them around.
Yeah,
Yeah,
defense let them hang around last year. Ohio State, just like you said, they leaned on their talent edge late, and they only won 21-10. It wasn't like it was a big
yeah,
blowout. So this year in South Bend could be different. That kind of starts a rough little stretch there. They got Ohio State at home, then go at Duke and at Louisville, two like games that you cannot
yeah.
sleepwalk through, and then
Can
they
out
end with that USC date.
exactly, exactly. I mean,
Um,
yeah, that's definitely a tough October. Well,
yeah,
mid September, October. Yeah, that's a tough run of games there.
yeah. Even after the
Um,
USC game that bye, they get Pitt at home, and Pitt's no sleepwalk.
yeah,
Um,
right, and then Clemson.
yeah, and then
So
on
yeah,
the
that
road to
back
Clemson.
end of the schedule.
Yeah, they end with Wake Forest at home. Sam Hartman will see his former team, and then at Stanford, which they should
Right.
win this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stanford's another team's taking a step
Yeah. I
back,
don't
but if
think
they
that.
want to get back to that 10-win plateau that they kind of hit for so many years there at the end of the Brian Kelly era, that means they got to steal
Yeah.
one of the Ohio State, USC, or Clemson games.
Yep.
And they,
Yeah. And that's not gonna be easy. I mean,
no, but this defense, it
those
might
are
be one of the better units in the country.
right.
So if Sam Hartman can be that difference maker on offense, I don't know. Playoff might be a stretch for them in year two under Freeman, but
Yeah.
stranger things have happened. Uh,
Yeah, definitely. Stranger things have happened, and Notre Dame is one of those names that if they're in the conversation, they're gonna get bumps over some other teams that don't maybe have the name clout that they do.
hmm
Um, but yeah, I mean, kind of, I see them in that anywhere from 10-2 to 8-4, realistically, so somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Just because, I mean, honestly, I'm thinking Ohio State and USC. I don't see them beating either one. The other games, I mean, there's some toss-ups there. Clemson is at Clemson, but we don't exactly know what Clemson is. I mean, they should be better offensively just with who they brought in as the OC and Kate Klubnik as the full-time starter, and it's kind of his thing now. But I mean, they're still been good, but they haven't been the Clemson that they were, when they went back, a couple of playoffs in a row there.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a toss-up game, even if it's at Clemson. Notre Dame, they travel a lot, they go a lot of spots, so I don't think it's really going to be an intimidating place, especially with the veteran quarterback. So that's kind of a toss-up game. That Louisville game, now that'll be an interesting one, just because Louisville can be a tough spot, just depending on how Louisville is doing on the season. And I think you had mentioned them being kind of a sleeper this year.
Hmm.
The ACC not getting a lot of hype, but looking at their schedule, I mean, they very well could be undefeated going into that game. So that could be an interesting one.
Yeah. Sorry, my mic turned down. Yeah. Yeah, I did mention Louisville as a sleeper in the ACC preview, and yeah, like you said, that's just especially where it is in that schedule, kind of between some big games there. That could be a
Mm-hmm.
little trap gamey there for Notre Dame.
Right.
Only other thing I'd like to say about them is I wish they would go back to their shiny gold pants or whatever that kind of match their helmet instead of that weird yellow which
Mm-hmm.
gold thing they got going on now.
Yeah.
It really throws me
Yeah.
off. That is a pet peeve of mine. If you follow me on Twitter, I've mentioned many times I cannot stand when helmet colors do not match uniform colors.
All right.
There's a few teams that are really guilty of it, and I hate it. Um,
Mm,
I think the worst is actually NFL. Yeah, it's when the Lions wear their gray uniform that does not match with their glittery silver helmet at all.
right. At all.
It's y'all, come on. All right, we'll move to the American Athletic Conference here. Year of change for them. They lose Cincinnati, USC, and Houston. And then they add UTSA, Florida Atlantic, North Texas, UAB, Rice, and Charlotte. Um, they're no divisions anymore, just a 14-team league. Um, yeah, some interesting storylines going on. We got Tulane, of course, last year, Cotton Bowl
Mhm.
champs, huge run. Maybe due for a little drop off after that great year, but still obviously
They
a danger
still
to win the
should be.
conference. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think UTSA might be the consensus media pick to
Hmm.
win. It would be their third straight conference title. They won past two Conference USA championships. I think another big story here locally, since I'm in Birmingham, don't know how good they'll do this year, but Trent Dilfer as a coach of UAB is
Yeah.
a really
The
interesting
head
story to
coach.
watch.
Yeah.
Um, he does seem to have the base excited at least, and maybe that name can get some recruiting going.
All right.
They played some
Yeah, for
close
sure.
games
He
last
had
year.
a,
Yeah.
and I mean, he has the, he was the down in the, was he at, forget what Florida high school he was at, but I know with that probably has some
Hmm.
recruiting, stuff still. So could be interesting. And UAB, they're always a team that has some talent. They kind of get the guys that are kind of left from the SEC and guys that you know maybe don't make a Auburn or Alabama, but still talented. They get a lot of those guys. They get a lot of guys that have the chip on their shoulders, guys that almost to that level, but not quite. So they're right there. So I mean, they do get a lot of talent at UAB, and often put some decent seasons together. So.
Yeah.
One.
One thing is working against them too. One, they only have seven returning starters coming back, so a lot of roster turnover.
That
And
they do. Uh,
yeah. And two, their schedule's pretty tough. Their
yeah.
road schedule's no joke. At Georgia Southern, which that's just State Bro's a weird place, and they don't run
Yeah.
that option anymore under Clay Helton now. But still, it's kind of a tough place. And at Georgia, at
Right.
Tulane, at UTSA, at Navy, and at
Cool.
North Texas,
Yeah.
there's not an easy
North
game in that
Texas is
bunch.
no slouch.
Mm-mm, no,
Yeah.
there isn't. Yeah, there's not an easy game in that bunch. They do get Louisiana, Memphis at
Mm-hmm.
home.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so might be a kind of more of a rebuilding year for Trent Dilfer, his
Right.
first year.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just be an interesting watch here. They're playing in this great new stadium here in Birmingham, protected field. Um,
Oh yeah, that stadium is sweet.
yeah, it's real nice. I haven't been. I need to go see a game there. I've only been there for a concert. Um, but yeah, it's real nice right here in downtown Birmingham. Like I said, the base. There's some energy around the UAB
Mm-hmm.
fan base that normally you don't really see a lot here in Alabama. Um,
Right.
but yeah, elsewhere we mentioned Tulane trying to Willie Fritz, big name, stayed at home, stayed there, or stayed with his school to be his 8th year at Tulane
Yeah.
now. Just an incredible turnaround. 2-10 and 21 and
Oh
12 and
yeah.
2 in Cotton Bowl champs
Oh
last year. Beat USC. What a game that
yeah.
was. Uh, like we said, maybe a little drop off this year just because people kind of now see them coming. But they
Right.
get quarterback Michael Pratt
They got
back.
hunted.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
they do lose. What was it Ty J Spears, that great running back they had? But hey, I think that they have enough returning starters, and I think it's a team that they've kind of stated their case as like a power in the American and the mid major to
Oh
watch out
yeah,
for. And of course, we've mentioned it last
for
week, but they get
sure.
that big Ole Miss game at home, second week of the
That'd
year.
be, if they could pull that off, that would be.
Hmm.
I mean, that just does a lot for your program from the recruiting aspect, just from the, and it's gonna be on national TV too. That's second, second weekend. So I mean, of course, Ala- Alabama game is that night, but I mean, for that 2:30 slot, I mean, I think there'll be a lot of eyes on that matchup. So
Hmm.
that would be huge if they're able to pull that big win over. I guess somewhat of a, well, I mean, at one point probably a rival there in the old SEC days.
Oh yeah, a
It's,
classic SEC rivalry.
yeah,
But yeah, no, and then
um,
they end the season. UTSA comes to New Orleans as well, so that could be
yeah,
a big game in terms of conference positioning.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and I mean, I was looking somewhere, reading up on Tulane a little bit, and it's just one of they're kind of in that situation. They've kind of expected at this point to be in the conference championship game again. So I mean, they kind of have big, I guess, big expectations, and that's the one thing, this not normal to have expectations uh, at Tulane. So just, how do you, just keep it going, because when the I mean when the pressure is kind of up and there's expectations, sometimes it's harder to win games. So it'd be
mhm.
interesting to see how they adjust as going from a team that not much is ever expected to a team where people are looking for something, big from this team. But I think that their coach will have them ready. I think he's a good coach. The fact that I'm sure he got some lucrative offers to stay was kind of shocked actually. But good for him for sticking around at least for until he got something he definitely would want to move on to, and not just take anything there. But another team that Florida Atlantic is they got Tom Herman as the coach now,
Hmm.
and I think that's kind of an underrated hire because honestly, not sure. Of course, he didn't get along with that tough alumni base that pays all the bills at Texas. But I think he did okay in Austin. I think he kind of got a bad rap there because I mean he won all his bowl games, had a couple of decent seasons there. So it'll be interesting what he does in Florida Atlantic there. He's a heck of a recruiter, so
Hmm.
having that Florida talent. Um,
And they have
so that'll be. I think that was an interesting hire for them.
they have a favorable schedule too. They avoid SMU in Memphis. They get UTSA at
Uh
home.
huh.
They get Tulane at home. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's they week 3, big one for them. They go at Clemson, and then next week at Illinois, which that could be a chance
Mm.
they could steal a game in Champaign.
Yeah,
Um,
because Illinois is gonna be losing a lot from last year's
mhm.
team, I think. But who knows?
But yeah, like you said, Tom
Uh,
Herman, a good coach. They do, of course. Oh no, sorry, I'm thinking of SMU. Never mind. Uh, Wrong red, white, and
yeah,
blue team. But yeah, then that's a good. I like that as a pick to a team to watch out for. But
yeah,
unless you got anything else on FAU, that's a good transition to SMU. Um,
yeah. SMU.
yeah, I was gonna
I
say.
think that they're gonna.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I
Go ahead.
was gonna say they're going to lose Tanner Mordecai.
Yeah,
That's a big loss for them. And second year
that
coach
is a big loss.
Rhett Lashley. But that's another team that
That is a big
to look
loss.
out
But,
for. That's a pro. We mentioned it kind of, I think, in our Big 12, and when we talked about conference realignment, how it's kind of odd that no one's kind of went to snatch up SMU. You know, we hear their name talking
right.
the Pac-12 and then now the ACC because people want
Mm-hmm.
that Dallas TV market and all. But that's a program
Right.
that wants to get back to like the big time, and you know they have boosters that want to spend money, and you
Yeah.
know now with NIL um, and a football hungry part of the world, it doesn't matter how many teams in Texas. Like there's always enough fans to support a program.
Oh yeah.
SMU's no different,
Yeah.
especially now that they see the success that their crosstown rivals TCU is having.
Oh yeah.
You know they
They
really
can.
itching to get back to the big time.
Exactly.
Um,
For sure. Yeah. I mean, that is a. They've had a. They've had some decent seasons. They've had a wide open offense for a while that toss it all over the place. But losing Tanner Mordecai, that's gonna be a tough one because
mhm.
he's put up crazy numbers at SMU, and it'd be interesting to see what he does there at Wisconsin. But they have a tough start to the year though. At Oklahoma, then two
Mhm.
weeks later at TCU. I mean, it's usually a pretty big game. I mean, I had a little hatred before, and now I definitely have some hatred. and
Mhm. Battle
then
for
of
the iron
course
skillet.
the Iron Skillet. I mean, that's one that not it never it's gonna have a national appeal, but just that local. That local rivalry, and of course TCU taking their coach and then going on to the national championship game, I'm sure adds a lot for it, especially for SMU to be able to pull that one off. And
Yeah.
they've done it a couple of times and when they weren't supposed to, so always an interesting game. But
Hmm. And, schedule wise, they avoid UTSA and Tulane.
they do, they do.
They
I mean,
get
after that September,
yeah
it's
after
not.
that September, and which is no, I mean, what I think Charlotte's the only conference game in September too.
Mm-hmm,
Um,
yeah,
their conference schedule is kind of favored. They do have to go at Memphis late in the year.
wait,
They
yeah,
get like Tulsa, North Texas, Navy all at home.
yeah,
So yeah, the Mustangs want to watch. See if they can get back to that kind of 10-win plateau.
mm-hmm,
Get back to a bowl game. Now we mentioned UTSA, like we said, pretty much media consensus pick to come into the AAC in their first year and maybe even win the conference like they've done the past 2 years in
yeah.
Conference USA. An
And
exciting team to watch.
oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it will transition. I think with the OC went on to Oregon, but
Hmm.
I mean, they're still gonna light it up. We know what they bring. But I think overall, just as a conference, though, for a mid-major, I mean, it's maybe the most entertaining conference um,
No, yeah,
in college football, just with some of the names and the coaches and the talent that is there.
yeah. We mentioned it's a big season
And
of change. You know, lost 3 teams, added what? How many? One, two, three, four, five, 6 teams. Uh,
Their other conference, they did pretty good. I mean, considering who they lost, I mean, they were able to bring in some decent names.
hmm.
I mean, you could have easily said, "Oh, damn, we lost." We lost the money makers, and brought in some decent talent from other conferences to keep that strong mid-major name alive there. So I mean, they did a good job rebounding
Hmm.
because you could easily shut down after losing those names, and they said nope, and brought in some talent, proactive with their moves. So that that's good to see. But I think yeah, well, they've had some interesting games over the years. There, of course, we've seen some interesting Cincinnati games with Memphis
Hmm.
and such, and I think we'll uh, should get some very interesting games this year. I mean, UTSA Tulane game. So I mean, fun conference, should be a lot of scoring going on.
Yeah, that and that particular, it's a conference that's all over the place. They got teams from San Antonio up to what, Philly and
Yeah,
Temple,
yeah.
and they got Florida, Florida Atlantic down there, and
Hmm.
um, where are they? Boca, yeah, Boca Raton down there in Florida,
Yeah.
East Carolina over there. Then of course, we mentioned Navy, who first year without a head coach. Let's try this. Ken Nuamatoa. I do
Yeah.
hope I got that right. Which is weird. He'd been there 15 years. That's a big, big
Yeah,
change for
been there
them.
quite some time.
Their new coach, what's the name? I got it here. Brian Newberry was their defensive coordinator, so it's a kind of easy in-house transition. So we know what they're going to run, triple option. Um, but that'd be just something interesting to watch. Navy in the first year of a new era. But yeah, like you said, this should
Right.
be a fun conference. It'd be fun to see kind of what rivalries maybe develop. We mentioned UTSA. Jeff Traylor is, he was 22-2 in Conference USA games um, in his time there. So, he's maybe a name to watch if they have another good year. If they do, in fact, win the
Hmm.
title or challenge for it, he could be a
Right.
coach on the rise. Um, but yeah, it'll be a fun mid major conference to watch. Um,
Oh yeah.
there's a lot of big names, there that are just fun teams that you always kind of, if they're in a close one or something, in that in between spots, or maybe even those Thursday, Friday night games, you kind of put an eye on them to
Oh, for
see
sure.
how things go.
Some good football.
Yeah, good football
Some
conference.
guys that you'll. I mean, it's definitely a conference that generates NFL talent. So I mean, you'll see some people though. Definitely, you'll see on Sundays for sure.
Absolutely. Where do you want to go next?
Next, I guess kind of. Let's break it down. Get to these who we think's going to win the conference. Well, let's say divisions, and then I guess conference champion kind of prediction of I guess championship games, and then who we think will actually win the conferences.
There you go. We can do that. All right. Well, hey, let's start with the big boys. Who do you have in the SEC?
SEC, I'm kind of gonna go with the names that I will probably hear a lot, but I think it is gonna come down to um, what we didn't get last year, but I think it's gonna come down to Alabama, Georgia,
Mhm.
and the SEC. And bold prediction here, I think both teams go into it undefeated
Oh,
in Atlanta.
uh, you have a winner there.
Now, honestly, but might sound homerish, but I'm gonna go Alabama. I just like the. I I just have this feeling that it's gonna be just a season with despite all the changes. I mean, I do think this team's tired of hearing about that everything's passed them by. George is a new king. It's the end of the Saban thing, and I think that's gonna resonate. I think people are gonna be hungrier this year because there's a lot of younger guys, a lot of people that are hungry that want to win,
Hmm.
haven't necessarily experienced it as the guy. So I think this team, despite all the question marks going into the season, I think it's going to be one of those classic Nick Saban seasons where not a lot of expectations coming in, but it's going to be one where by the end of it, you're going to realize, man, Alabama, at least for this year, is back.
Yeah. Um, No, I've kind of racked my brain over this one all week. Um, Not really sure who, because on one hand, Georgia's schedule, uh, makes me think that that's a cakewalk. But I did mention like it could be one of those years where they look, kind of like, oh, hey, man, this team's headed for a three-peat, but the first big game they play knocks
Hmm.
them on their ass. And I think that brings me to my uh, prediction and kind of bold prediction. I think that Georgia misses the SEC title game. I think the Vols.
Oh,
I think Tennessee beats them
oh,
in the regular season. Um,
interesting.
and then they go on to a rematch. Kind of the other bold prediction that we get two Alabama Tennessee games this year. Um,
Man,
yeah. Um,
that's a good because you can imagine. I mean, just with what the 3rd of October,
mhm.
third Saturday in October brings. On top of that, probably a playoff berth. Whew,
Yeah. Um,
man,
and then
that
that's,
could be epic.
again, no knock on Georgia. It is definitely kind of a homer pick. But you say, like we mentioned it, we see this meme going around with Nick Saban getting done with a press conference and smiling, and,
Yeah,
other teams will be like, oh shit. But I do. I think that the defense is
he
what's going to
seems
carry
pretty
Bama
calm.
this year. Yeah. I think the
Yeah.
defense, I think for all the offensive talk, maybe we don't have quarterback. Maybe they're just holding on till next year when we see what's that big time recruit? His name I can't even think of it right now. It's lost on me right now. I don't have the roster in front of me, but maybe the quarterbacks are just holding over till he comes in next year and takes
Right.
over the quarterback spot. But I think we lean on the running game. I think the defense gels pretty quickly, and I think they become kind of a nasty. We're not going to see 2011 out there, but I think they become a really nasty defense. We mentioned their two big games at home, Tennessee and LSU. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think the Tide do it. I think they beat the Vols twice. I think they beat them in the regular season to get
Oof,
revenge.
please.
And then, like I said, I think Tennessee turns around and beats Georgia, and they take it, based on the tiebreak there. I don't think Tennessee loses another game. And I think Alabama wins in Atlanta. Um,
Oof,
yeah.
epic.
Uh, yeah. Bold. And then my other bold SEC prediction is that at some point, Jimbo Fisher and Bobby Petrino get in a fist fight during a game. Uh,
Oh man, that
um,
will be epic. Two middle-aged guys just going at it.
yeah. And then less bold, but just still kind of something I think will happen. I think maybe not necessarily a quarterback controversy at LSU, but I think at some point that Garrett Nussmeier, I think Brian Kelly throws him in the mix. Maybe Jaden Daniels maybe has a mediocre passing game or something. Like maybe a game where he throws a couple picks, and then Brian Kelly
Mm-hmm.
maybe tries that out, or maybe goes to some weird system where Daniels is in more, and you kind of know that okay, the running threat's coming here, and then when Nussmeier comes in, you're like, okay, they're passing. Um,
Yeah,
and,
because Nussmeier, he's a talented dude. Like he'd be
very,
starting a lot
yeah,
of spots. The fact that I was kind of shocked he actually stayed there. I mean, I understand
mhm,
because of LSU, and I mean, I'm sure they'll have something for him, maybe. But I mean, he could probably start maybe 70, 80% of other schools. So
exactly.
he's a talented guy.
All right, let's move to the Big Ten. Who you got, Greg?
Big Ten. Uh, for some reason, I really think this is the year Penn State finally gets it done.
Oh,
I think they win the East.
Penn
Uh, you
State.
know, I just think, and I just had to. I've said it in a couple of spots, but I really think Penn State wins the East this year. May be crazy, and it may be the same normal that we expect that we've come accustomed to since Franklin's been there. But I think this is the year that they do pull it out. I think some of it has to just do with just how Michigan's schedule goes in November. I think that I think that they lose two in November there, and that's going to elevate Penn State into the Big Ten championship.
Wow, who do you got them beating?
I got them beating. I think the Badgers are going to win the West this year. And it's just going to be interesting seeing what they do. I mean, this is a run heavy offense, always has been, and it's going to be interesting because now they have their OC likes to pass a lot. They got a heck of a transfer there in Tanner Mordecai. To see them open up that offense at Wisconsin could kind of be scary because if they open it up and have success, this Badgers team, from recruiting aspects and everything else, I mean, it could, and they're going to be a well coached unit. I could see the Badgers doing big things, but I do think that they have the most should win the West pretty convincingly this year.
Uh,
So it should make for a good championship game.
I agree with you there. I think Luke Fickle comes in and really rejuvenates that program. Haven't had a 10-win
Hmm.
season since 2019. Um, I think we mentioned them getting Tanner Mordecai from SMU. I think that's a huge pickup. I think he's going to modernize that offense. It's not going to be the Wisconsin we're used to seeing. This isn't Ron Dane back there or, um, John Johnson Taylor. This is going to be, they're still going to run the ball. They make
Yeah,
those boys come big on that offensive line up there. But I
yeah.
think they're going to throw it a little bit more. They're going to have a little speed, a little playmaking to them.
You're gonna have to respect the passing
Mhm.
game.
And that schedule just is so favorable to them. They avoid Michigan and Penn State. They get Ohio State at home. The road games are not really tough at all until Minnesota the last week of the season, and they're a more
Right.
talented team than Minnesota. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I think, man, they could run the table in the regular season. I think they'll be in the playoff talk at some point. Maybe they do lose that game to Ohio State in October 28th, but maybe that first couple of playoff rankings that come out, people are talking about
Yeah.
Wisconsin possibly.
Wisconsin.
Even if they lose Ohio State and they come back and win, that's if you're 11-1
Yeah,
heading
they
to the
play.
Big Ten title game, um, you know,
Yeah.
over in
And
the
if you win that,
yeah,
Michigan,
hmm
whether it be Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, you win that game. No, you're in the playoff.
hmm
So
and then over there, I think Michigan beats them in the title game. I just think Jim Harbaugh finally got, after so many years of not getting it right, he got the team he wanted in there, and they play the style of ball they want. I think they have to JJ McCarthy and then Blake Corum, a healthy
yeah,
Blake Corum. If he's healthy this year, that man was a Heisman candidate before his injury last year.
yeah,
Um,
definitely was.
and then not only him, but Donovan Edwards. They just have a great backfield, maybe the best 1-2 punch in the country. And McCarthy's no slouch himself running the ball. Uh,
Right.
you did mention that is a tough schedule, particularly the end. Those last three at Penn State, at Maryland, Ohio State at home. That's a rough end to the year, but I think
Gauntlet.
I think they do it. I think Jim Harbaugh maybe even got a little fuck you in him to the NCAA that he can convince his team on. And then my bold
Yeah.
prediction, though, I think Maryland knocks off one of Penn State, Ohio State, or Michigan this year. We both talked about them in our Big Ten
Yeah.
previews, kind of a sleeper, a dangerous team.
Yeah.
I think Mike Loxley's boys.
Definitely.
I think they knock off one of the big three,
Yeah. For me, I think they beat Michigan.
and they get them at
I
home.
really, yeah, get them at home.
Get-
Prime, prime in between Penn State and Ohio State. I think it's gonna be a prime situation for the Terps. I think they pull it off. But yeah, definitely. Um, I think the Terps definitely beat somebody. For me, I think it's Michigan. But we'll see how it plays out.
We'll see. Yeah, I kind of like that Penn State game, November 4th. It's the week before Penn State hosts Michigan, so maybe one of those look ahead games where Penn State gets caught.
Well, right.
Let's go to the ACC now. Who do you like there?
So I think ACC. I not a very bold prediction, but I think we're gonna see without divisions. We'll see Florida State and Clemson twice this
Mhm.
year. And I think Clemson wins in the regular season at Clemson, but I think Florida State comes back, beats them in the championship game. I think that's going to propel Florida State into the playoff this year.
Mm, interesting. Florida State over Clemson. Uh, that's another one. Another one I've been kind of back and forth over because you mentioned with no division this year. It, if it pans out, if you're Clemson or Florida State, you're going to have to almost win that game twice. Or like
Yeah,
you said, at least if you lose the regular season, you can't lose another game, so you have to get back there.
right.
Um,
Yeah.
I think I like Florida State too, just because it's a more known. We know what they have at quarterback. Um,
Hmm.
and Jordan Travis. We know what that offense looks like. I think that was a great hire by Dabo and Clemson to get Garrett Riley to come run their offense. But
Oh,
still
yeah, that was huge.
first year. Some things kinks work out, and maybe by the end of the season, of course, they're humming along. But um, yeah, they do get their big ones. Florida State at home, Notre Dame at home, um, North Carolina and Drake May at home. But yeah,
Yeah,
I think the talent's just too much there. They've got a couple of off years by their standards, anyway. And
right.
so yeah, I think they're back in the title hunt this year. Um, but I think Florida State ultimately, maybe it works out like you say it too. Maybe they get the home win in September over them, but Florida State gels takes them in the title game.
Yeah, I just think Clemson's a hard place to win.
It is.
And they that crowd. I'm sure that'll be a night game too. So I mean, it's another. I guess you know, LSU fans hate when you call that Death Valley, but I guess it's called Death Valley as well.
Hmm.
But it can get raucous there, and they've had Florida State's number for a while. I mean, it's gonna be hard to go in and win. But I think the saving thing for Florida State, I think that they're gonna beat LSU again, and then they're gonna win the rest of the game. So even if they do, even though I have them losing to the Clemson, I think they're gonna go in, win the rest of the game, go into that game 11-1. Honestly, I think Clemson's gonna go into that game undefeated. And I think it's going to be a classic game with Florida State pulling it off second time around, which propels them into the playoffs. But
Yeah. Um, and then something maybe bold to look out for. I think that one of either Pitt or Miami um, is in the conference title discussion late in the year. Um,
hmm
that Miami Florida State game is pretty late in the year this year. It's November 11th
it
in
is.
Tallahassee.
That is like,
Um, I honestly, I'd be surprised. I would be surprised, but also I could see it um, if Miami upsets Clemson in Coral Gables in middle October. Um, you could see Miami come into that November 11th Florida State game unbeaten. They'd have to beat
whew,
Texas A&M. That
yeah,
other than that, that September schedule is easy. And then
yeah.
they do have to go at North Carolina, then host Clemson back to back, and Clemson's coming off a bye. But if they get some momentum going, Mario Cristobal really gets the guys into shape. I think we'll see a lot of the use back stories like that before maybe a late loss derails them.
But can you imagine that going undefeated into that
Woo,
game?
man!
Very well. If that, especially if both teams were undefeated, man, that could be
I mean, that
epic.
would be the biggest one since Chris Ricks was around or something.
Yeah.
um,
Oh, Chris Rick
and then Pitt, I
never
just
could.
like their schedule. They avoid Clemson in the regular season. They get North Carolina and Florida State at home. Um, they have to play Notre Dame at home, but that's a non-conference game. They go on the road for the backyard brawl in West Virginia. Um, that out of conference schedule is actually pretty tough for Pitt. They get Cincy and then at West Virginia and at Notre Dame, like I mentioned.
Yeah, that's a tough out of conference.
Yeah, but
Yeah, but they're They're a well coached team.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, Pat Narduzzi's a heck of a coach. So would not shock me at all
No, they're a tough
to
nosed
see them.
team. I think they're. Just think their conference schedule is kind of favorable, and they can make some noise till late in the year. But yeah, let's move to the Big 12 now. Who do you like out there?
This is one of the tougher conferences because there's so many teams that are in that area where they could be great or they could be okay.
Hmm.
You know, there's so many teams that you look at the Baylor's, the Kansas States, even though they're defending champs. I think they may take a little step back, but they're still a really good team. Baylor could be a really good team. Texas Tech could be a really good team, but it's tough. But honestly, you know, I have Texas winning the Big 12 in the final season there because at the end of the day, and they've had talent before, but I mean they have a ton of talent. They literally have 8 or 9 guys that can very well be NFL guys in the next couple of years. That'll be starting this year. I mean, they have all. If viewers can stay consistent, I mean, this very well. Even if they lose, Alabama very much a playoff contender, a team that should very much be in the mix throughout the year. But I think talent-wise, they're above everybody else in the conference. It's just a matter of being a consistent team. I think Sark is going to have them ready. I do have them winning the Big 12. As far as who they play, that's the that's the toughest part because I mean there's a lot of teams that they could play, and it kind of comes down to if I think OU gets back to what OU normally is, and I'm not sold on them just because we. So honestly, I think Kansas State makes it at least back to the Big 12 title game. They're a well coached team. They're gonna lose Deuce, uh, but I think they're still going to run the ball well. They're going to be physical. They're going to play hard, and they're going. to I think they're going to be back in the big, bring back their quarterback. Who played most here last year, and I think Texas, Kansas State, Big 12 title game. Texas able to win, and more than likely, at least in the not you know, I think they lose to Bama, but I think that's probably the only loss. So they'll be at least in the playoff mix. It depends how everything else plays out to determine whether they make the playoff or not.
Hmm.
But I think they'll be right there.
I do agree with you. I like Texas as a champ. Kind of the same thing. I think I could see them losing to Bama and then kind of running the table with their talent. Um, as far as who they beat, I like Baylor. Kind of a bounce back year. Um, they avoid Oklahoma in the regular season. They do have to go at K State and at TCU late in the year. They get Texas at home earlier in the year, and it's early enough to where a loss there wouldn't crush them. They could bounce back and go on a run. I think they're primed for a bounce back year. They're under Dave Aranda. Like their talent they have coming back on offense specifically. They've got a lot of speed there as they've been known to. You know, recently, and I think they make a big leap back to the title game at least. I do think have Texas knocking them off. Um, I don't think I'd have any big bold predictions for the Big 12 this year. It's too crazy to make one.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of
Hmm.
teams. It wouldn't shock me if they're right, in the mix. You could see like a Texas Tech. I mean, you could
Hmm.
see them anywhere from 10-2 to 6-6. I mean, it's kind of all over the spot. Um, but I think that they're well coached. I think that they're gonna be a firepower offense, so they're gonna be an interesting team to watch. It's also gonna be interesting just to see what these new guys, what they do. UCF has always talked about, man. We've always had those debates. How would they match up every week in a Power Five conference?
Hmm.
And we'll see how that plays out finally. How good is TCU going to be this year? How much of a drop off are they going to, or if any, are they going to have? Of course, they lose their OC quarterback, but as we all know, the starting quarterback got hurt last year.
Hmm.
So I mean, he wasn't even a starter. So how much of a loss of quarterback? He was a heck of a leader, but I think the guy they have now is more uh, talented as far as a passer. Um, and they TCU did a good job with filling in the transfer portal. Got a lot of guys from Alabama, Trey Sanders, and so that'll be interesting. But it's going to be hard for them to stay where they're at because they got some crazy breaks last year that I'm not sure they're going to get so much this year. I think they'll still be a solid team. So that's another one you never know. But yeah, that Big 12 is just so wide open because there's so many teams that you're like, they could very well be in a conference title game, but they could also, someone's got to lose games as well. So yeah, definitely a tough one to pick.
Yeah. Let's go Pac-12 now. Who do you like out west?
Out west, honestly, I'm really high on Washington. And I think that's my bold prediction. They do have a tough schedule. Their conference schedule is brutal. They play all the big guys, but I believe in what they're doing there, and I think that they knock off USC in the playoff there.
Oh. Um,
I just what they do. Um,
so USC over UW there. I have the, or excuse me, UW over USC. I have the reverse. I have USC over Washington in the title game. I
like,
think they uh, get their defense together just enough to where that offense can win games. And if they got to win it
hmm
via shootout, that's fine. I think Caleb Williams is your Heisman front runner, and that's my kind of prediction too. I think the Heisman winner comes from this conference, be it Caleb Williams, Michael Penix. Even I think maybe we'll even hear like Bo Nix's name thrown in there, maybe.
yeah,
Um,
and then oh yeah, I mean it's crazy. The conference is going away might have the most epic conference just with the amount of future NFL quarterbacks in that conference, and then just the big time games. It's crazy to think that this is the last time that'll ever happen.
mhm. Yeah, right there. They're going to go out with a bang for sure.
Yeah,
And it sucks that one of the guys leaving. Of course, almost everyone's leaving, but we'll probably win the conference. Be it USC or even if Utah sneaks up, well, they're going away. Of course, I guess if they had their way, they'd probably stay where they were. Um, all things
right.
considered, but
Yeah, because it sounds like everybody kind of wanted outside of USC and UCLA. Nobody really wanted to get out of the Pac-12 other than they had to stay alive,
hmm
to stay relevant. Right? It's kind of a we don't feel there's not enough confidence in what their plan is that we can stay. It's not profitable. We can't stay. Rather, as I don't think anybody really wanted to go. I think that everybody kind of wanted to keep the Pac-12 with what it was, but just with the bad planning of the conference, it was just too risky to do.
right. All right. Now let's go real quick. Who do you?
I was gonna say
Oh, go ahead.
the one sleeper team. If anybody's gonna pull off anything this year, outside of if there's a team that's gonna make some noise, it's gonna be Oregon State.
Hmm.
It's gonna be a very interesting team there. They bring DJU in as quarterback. They were really good team last year. Able to knock off Oregon at the end of the year. Got things going early with a big win at Madison last year, and really built off that. And I think that they're going to be a tough out for a lot of teams. Wouldn't wouldn't be shocked if they're very much in the mix for the Pac-12 title game.
Yeah, no, no, and they avoid USC during the regular season. They
Hmm.
get Utah at home. Um, I believe they get Washington at home too. It's a tough way to end the year. They get Washington and then at Oregon back to back their last two games.
Yeah, that's tough.
So we'll know. And then of course they got that kind of a tricky out of conference game, San Diego State,
Hmm.
third week of the year. It's in Corvallis, but San Diego State is famous for beating Pac-12 teams. Then
Yeah.
one tricky one too to look out for. Their first game, September 3rd, actually is Sunday. They go at San Jose State to open the year. Speaking
Mm.
of a mid-major program, it's kind of on the up and up. So
Yeah.
avoid that pitfall.
San,
But
yeah, San Jose State can definitely score some points.
yeah, a lightning rod of a team. All right, now let's go real quick predictions for the rest of the five. Who do you like? Just give me a champ for the American.
American, I'm going Tulane. I think that they're able to do it
All
again.
right, you like Tulane. Um, I'm gonna go with UTSA. I do think they come in to the conference, and I think they win their third straight conference crown. They come from Conference USA, and I think they
Hmm.
uh, stake their claim here in the new American. Um,
Nice.
let's move to the Mountain West.
Mountain West, I honestly haven't studied them as well as I probably should have coming in. But I'm gonna go back more to the old school. I think Boise State bounces back, able to win the Mountain West this year.
Yeah, I like that pick. Share your pick too. I do want to say I think Wyoming is a team to look out for there. I think
Yep.
that's a improved team there. They do have to go at Boise during the year, but I think they can.
Hmm.
Think they can make some noise. They have a brutal out of conference schedule. Other than Portland State, they host Texas Tech to begin the year. They go at Texas week 3, and then after that they get Appalachian State in
Jeez,
Laramie. Yeah,
that's tough.
so that's a tough one. But yeah, I'm with you. I like Boise, the Big Blue guys, to return to the top of their conference, going to reclaim their crown. Um,
Yep.
how about Conference USA?
Conference USA, man. Throwing out all the doozies here.
Oh yeah.
Let's.
Speaking of conferences going through just incredible change.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was kind of looking at this point.
Who
Who
who's
is
left?
who is it? Yeah, who is left in Conference USA?
It is real quick for the fans. It's a brand new Conference USA. It is down to Florida International, Jacksonville State, Liberty, La Tech, Middle Tennessee, New Mexico State, Sam Houston, UTEP, and Western Kentucky. And I'm not sure. I don't think Jacksonville State or Sam Houston are eligible yet for
Right, I think because they just
in the
came up from
transition
what
yet. And then aren't they're
FCS.
adding Kennesaw next year, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah, Kennesaw State coming in.
Hmm.
Um, honestly, I think I'm gonna say Liberty wins the conference there.
Okay.
I don't think that they're gonna take too much of a loss there. They come in, have a having a good coach. I think they're gonna win.
Yeah, they get of course get
Cheers.
what's his face coming over from Coastal Carolina. Um
Ja-
Jeremy Chadwell.
yeah,
That's it.
yeah,
I like
and that's one of
go
the
ahead.
uh, one of those guys. We saw what he did at Coastal there. Some solid seasons. And this is kind of a job. They're kind of in that same mid-major. I don't know if it's really a move up or kind of a lateral move there, but to Liberty, I guess they have more money at Liberty, but
Yeah.
I think it'll be. I think he's a good coach. He'll have him, but it'll be. I don't think he's. and I think he moves up to the Power Five sooner than later there.
Hmm.
So Liberty, enjoy him while you can, because I think he's soon will be a hot. He's already kind of been a name people are looking at, but eventually he's going to make that move. So
Yeah. All right. Let's go. Sun Belt, the old Fun Belt. One of the uh,
the Sun Belt is.
one of the few conferences keeping divisions this year.
Let's see, Sun Belt. You say App State.
App State, that's a good one. Um, boys making some noise. They're the Mountaineers. They are in the East Division, of course. They'll be starting. It looks like a freshman at quarterback, Chase Bryce. Had some memorable moments. Of course, we remember their wild game to open the year at North Carolina last year, hosting North Carolina. Sorry,
Yeah, that was a
just
wild one.
absolutely crazy game. They go to Chapel Hill second week of the year this year. Um, I like the Mountaineers there. I think their schedule gets a little tough for them. Um,
They play East Carolina the next week
yeah.
after UNC. That's a tough back-to-back games. I
Mhm.
mean, East Carolina team that's going to be a tough out. One that yeah, ECU's coming back a little bit. For a while, they were a football power, fell off hard, but I think they're coming back. So yeah, it's going to be a tough run for App State there. But out of conference games, that won't hurt a main conference here. Going to why that's a tough three-run stretch.
Mhm.
UNC, East Carolina, then going to Laramie.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's tough. I like South Alabama. Uh,
US.
Jaguars, good looking team down there in
Mm-hmm.
Mobile. I think good schedule. I think they have a lot of returners, a lot of returning starters left. I have it here. They have 18 guys coming back, 9 on both units from a 10-win team
Nice.
last year. Um, Almost beat UCLA in the Rose Bowl.
Yeah, they did.
Um, and other than that, only lost to Troy, and then they lost the New Orleans Bowl to Western Kentucky. But that's a team. I like it. They start the year tough at Tulane. So we'll see what they got. And
Mm-hmm.
then week 3 they go to Stillwater to face Oklahoma State. So they'll get some tough tests early on. They'll figure out what they are, and then
Edinburgh.
they'll come into conference play. They open it at James Madison, another team I kind of like. But other than that, it's kind of a favorable conference schedule. No App State, no Coastal.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they do at Troy Thursday night and November 2nd. Chance to avenge that loss. Kind of a little in-state rivalry there.
All right.
But yeah, I like the Jaguars.
Right.
Team kind of only up and up there. And then last one, the Mac. How about a little Maction?
Go Maction. Man, I remember, when we were in school, the Mac had quite a running quarterback for a while
Hmm.
there. That was definitely some good third. Well, now what you can see him Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. The Mac is always on the midweek there. Hmm, you know, let's see.
I'll go ahead and start this one off. I know my guys. I
Yeah,
like
you have.
Toledo. Um, they got the coach that's been there for almost a decade now. They're kind of a consistent team. They usually go hover around that 7-6, 8-5, 8-4 range. A 9-win team last year had a couple late stumbles. Couldn't get to that 10-win mark. They did beat Liberty in the bowl game. But they have an interesting schedule. They start the year at Illinois, and then you get San Jose State at home in week 3. I think those are two chances. If they upset Illinois, which they absolutely could, you might
Hmm.
want to look out for them. They could be a team that might, they could run the table almost and maybe get one of those New Year Six things. Maybe with all this, it's a conference that never gets poached. And during all the realignment madness, it's been
Right.
there, like you said, forever in the day since we were in school. Um, it's just an interesting conference to watch, and they always get those national showcase games, and they're on like Tuesdays and stuff. So
Hmm.
yeah, I like the Rockets.
The Rockets. I mean, that's definitely a good pick. Yeah, I'm gonna say, yeah, I probably agree with you there. I think Toledo, like I said, favorable schedule. They could get that road win against Illinois. Very, yeah, I completely agree with you there. I'd say very much could be a team that could be looking at a New Year's Six game out the MAC. It's been a little bit since the MAC team has been on a national spotlight, but yeah, they definitely have a lot of firepower. Um, so yeah, I guess we agree with there. Interesting enough, talking about the MAC. It's just crazy. I saw something the year when Northern Illinois came in and beat us in Tuscaloosa. They went 9-3 on that season and did not get invited to a bowl game.
Oh wow,
I didn't realize that.
I did not either. I did not remember that. That's insane. What the hell were those bowl
Yeah,
people thinking?
yeah.
Then
I mean, it was only like 28 games back then, so not near as
yeah,
many. But I was saying, but that's just crazy
yeah,
that they did not get invited to any bowl
and yeah.
game.
Even though that wasn't
No bowl.
the biggest Alabama team, that was
Yeah,
what year was that? Was that our 4-9 using?
2003.
No, no,
That was 2000 and that was 2003 or
three.
four.
So if it's three, then that was the 4-9 year at Bama. That was the Mike
Yeah,
Shula
that was.
came.
I
That
mean,
was
that
the
was a.
Mike Price incident. Shula came in after spring
Yeah,
practice and
yeah. I mean, that was a
did an admirable
tough year,
job.
but still, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah. But I mean, the fact that they still came into Tuscaloosa and
No,
got the
I
win,
don't know
no matter what status of Alabama was in. But
exactly.
yeah,
That's kind of the same thing when Hawaii won that. Beat us. That's no matter
yeah,
the status of the program,
where
that's
we're
the
at.
name. Yeah, that's still a
Yeah,
good name to hang your hat on.
yeah. And
Now I remember that NIU game. They blocked an extra point and took it back for two early in the
yeah,
game, and we
took
kind of
it back
laughed.
to.
We're like, "Oh, look at that!"
That's nice. That's
Yeah, and
cute.
then Michael the
And then,
Burner
whereas
Turner.
at the end of that shit, we needed that point.
Yeah, it was a 1 point win for
we,
them, right?
we
Michael
needed
the
that.
Burner
I
Turner
think
just
it's
did it to us, man.
yeah,
Future what NFL Pro Bowler at least, I believe. Um,
yeah. That's some solid years for the Falcons.
yeah, and he started with the Chargers and then went to that Falcons offense where they really
Hmm.
leaned on him.
Yeah.
But yeah, uh, so that does it for our previews. I will save those so we can come back to them in the end of the
And
year.
be like, man, what were we
Yeah,
thinking?
right. Or I can conveniently change them. Nah, no. Well, yeah. Excited. College football starts this week. Not a
Saturday.
lot of big
Yeah,
games going on.
I guess for Notre Dame Navy, kind of the biggest
Yeah,
of the bunch for the week zero now was what they
yeah.
call it.
Week zero, whatever. Again, though, like I wrote last year, we could just we could have switched the bowl games to this week, and we'd have a bunch of awesome opening matchups. Um,
Huh.
but they don't make me commissioner of things. They should. Yeah, no, that's pretty much it. And we got like Hawaii travels to Vanderbilt with half a stadium. I don't know if you've been
Yeah,
following.
were they working on both ends?
Yeah, and it,
I
it
saw
just
that on.
looks a mess. Like their capacity is only going to be
Yeah.
what, like 20,000, if that, this year.
I mean, it's already a small enough stadium
Yeah.
as is.
So that's interesting.
Jeez.
Yeah. We're going to see USC in action. They host San Jose State. So we'll see, what they look like. Other than that, yeah, not a big slate. It's only a few here. I'll list them off. It's UTEP at Jacksonville State, UMass at New Mexico State, Ohio at San Diego State, We mentioned Hawaii
Mm.
Vandy, San Jose State USC, and Florida International at La Tech. And that's it. Of course, like you said, all kicks off with Navy and Notre Dame in Dublin next week. But
Not the sexiest schedule, but it's
it's college football.
some it's college football and actually some interesting games.
Hmm.
Ohio, San Diego State might be one interesting one, and San Jose State USC. Very well could be a high scoring game. We'll see if that USC defense is any improved.
No, yeah, and you get teams like Jacksonville State in their first. This will be their first full year as a
Utah,
FBS team, right? Um,
yeah.
or is this their transition year still? No, they're.
Are they official?
I can't remember that. I don't know if they're actually quite eligible yet to win the conference.
And that's one I really have never understood, whether it be college basketball or college football. It
Mhm.
irks me. Why do I've been people have explained it to me, but I don't understand. Why are we punishing a team? We've seen it a couple times in the NCAA tournament where a team wins the actual tournament, but the second place team gets to go to the tournament because they're not eligible yet. Like what? Like why? I don't understand the rationale behind that at all.
Yeah,
Because if a new team comes to the SEC, of course they're moving up a division. I understand that, but I don't understand why you punish them or make them wait around. I
uh,
don't get what the benefit of it is or what it brings or.
no, it's one of these kind of myriad of reasons why college football. What's happening is happening.
Yeah,
There's no real uh, central power to like look over these things,
yeah,
and the rules they do have are arbitrary. It seems like.
right.
Um, of course, the other interesting thing with Jacksonville State we missed. You know who the coach is there? Any guesses?
Um, I've heard it, but yeah, no, off the top of my head, I can't think of.
Well, the guy that a mini Obama fan wanted before we hired Nick Saban, old Rich Rod.
Oh, old Rich. That's right. Rich Rod is there.
He was there
That
last year as
is
his
right.
first year. Took him to 9-2.
That is right. Yeah. Old Rich Rod. And that's just a crazy story in itself. But yeah, Rich Rod second. Yeah, this is his second year in it. That's crazy. But he had. Boy, that was probably the greatest blessing ever. That his wife hated
Oh man, you
Tuscaloosa
talk
or
about
something.
sliding door moments. That yeah, there's I've seen many people joke that there should be a Rito Rodriguez Day in Tuscaloosa, and the state of Alabama should be a
Oh
holiday
man.
to thank her for not
Oh
wanting to
man.
move to Tuscaloosa. Because
You
if she
lady.
did, folks, we would have had Rich Rod and
Yeah.
Crimson and White, and who knows how it would have went. Maybe that spread option with the
I don't know.
talent he could have got, maybe. But
Yeah, maybe. But who knows? Because he was a horrible fit at Michigan,
yeah, just did not work there at all.
and Arizona was a shit show. And then the whole scandal with he had an affair or whatever there, and yeah.
Yeah,
So
something.
I don't know. I think everything worked out well for what it did, and we appreciate you, Miss Rodriguez,
Yes.
for not
Yeah.
not being a fan of Tuscaloosa, even though kind of weird that you were a fan of Morgantown, but not Tuscaloosa. But hey, we'll take it.
Yeah, right.
We'll
Yes, thank you again. Happy Rito Rodriguez Day to those who celebrate. Uh, all right, let's see. Elsewhere on the world of sports, real quick. Uh, see, we talked a bit about James Harden last week. That's just gotten trickier
hmm
and trickier now. Like the NBA is looking into it, apparently.
Yeah,
His claims that Daryl Morey lied. Um,
yeah.
we have, of course, Spain as your Women's World Cup champion. They're first.
Mhm.
Um, I didn't get to see it this morning. I almost could have stayed awake. I was getting home from work about the time it was kicking off.
The game was kicking
Yeah.
off.
Let's see. Trying to think anything else interesting going on in the world of
I
sports this
mean,
week.
it's not getting a lot of hype, but quietly. The men's basketball there, in the
Mm,
FIBA. I mean, they're just winning games over there.
yeah, Anthony Edwards showing
Winning
out.
big game.
Yeah.
He had a big, not the sexiest lineup as far as the. I mean, it's some talent. Can't don't get me wrong there, but not the names you kind of accustomed to with the dream teams. But it's guys that want to be there. They're hungry to prove themselves. So I think it's going to go well. As they get ready for the Olympics there.
Um, yeah, but other than that, yeah, not much. NFL preseason kind of going on. Nothing exciting. No big news there so far.
Yeah, I did see that Well, I mean, I was out last night, but I saw that they stopped the Patriots game after the dude got hurt.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I was like, wow,
Yeah, kind of scary situation there.
yeah,
But yeah, just kind of slow week. Like I said, we're just waiting for football to kick off.
yeah, right
That's our
here,
big thing, yeah, and it's here.
sure.
2 weeks away from
A
the real games, but we'll get a little taste, little nip.
little taste next weekend, and
Hmm.
yeah, we're right there, and should be some. Yeah, week one should have some epic, some decent games. I mean that normally a South Carolina, North Carolina game probably gets a little more hype. Of course, it's going to be a back shadow into that Florida State LSU game, and that's one that's razor thin. I've seen a lot of predictions go both ways with that one. So
Yeah, that's
that
that's the main
that'd be
event, week one
interesting.
for sure.
Yeah,
But all right, Greg, what has been done up real good for you lately?
I think overall, I think just getting into that, we're almost to football season. Had me excited looking at all the preview stuff and looking at even fantasy football stuff. So just getting into that time of the year that we're here. Um, Pretty excited for it. How about you?
And honestly, pretty much the same. Just getting down to it's getting close to football season, our favorite time of year for everyone. On the
Yeah.
pro side, I'm liking everything that I see out of reports from the Ravens camp. Lamar's loving that
Hmm.
new offense. The Ravens, that's kind of something. The Ravens signed Jadeveon Clowney uh,
Yeah, I saw
the other
that.
day to kind of bolster, actually give them a pass rush because right now they're depending on a couple of third year rookies. I
Hmm.
saw one interesting too. Is I can't remember if it was Athletic ESPN article, but it was basically one of those we suggest a trade for every team, and the Ravens' suggestion was that they trade Washington. They acquire Chase Young there. I was like, hey man, I'd take that. And it hasn't
Hmm. Yeah,
quite
that
lived
would
up to
be.
the hype of
Wow.
that first year, but why not? That'd be an interesting thing. Of course,
Still, I think he has a lot of talent,
yeah.
but
And maybe he's just not in
some
the
of it
right
does. The
place.
injuries kind of held him back a little bit.
Yeah, but yeah, just that kind of that. Then usual, around the house stuff. We got some long needed work done on our backyard here. It kind of looks like a good yard. Got cleared out
Nice,
old wood piles and stuff, and got some stuff planted, and it looks decent now.
nice.
Yeah, just on to the next of a million house projects. But
Right.
yeah, like we said, what's really done
Mhm.
up real good is the next time you'll listen to this, of course, on Monday, and then next week football. Um,
Be there.
be it you know not quite a big feast, but a little appetizer. But as
Little
always,
appetite.
thank y'all for listening. We do hope you enjoy. Of course, subscribe and rate us wherever you listen to us on podcasts. Tell your friends about us. Tell your rich friends about us. Um, and check out all of the other wonderful podcasts on the Alabama Take family of podcasts. Greg, I don't know if you saw it on social media at all this week, but old Mallory from the Stare Down kind of threw down a little gauntlet. Maybe a crossover podcast the week of the Ole Miss game from the Alabama Takes new resident Ole Miss fan. So we'll work out something there for y'all.
Inter-
Um, it's
Interesting.
okay. yeah, we'll work out something there. But you can hear,
Just to throw a little trash talk.
yeah, a little
For
fun,
Miss
hanging out.
fans, no matter how good you think your season's gonna be,
Yeah.
the defensive coordinator is Pete Golding. Enjoy.
Yeah. So, yeah, sorry, Mal. We do apologize for you were in for the Pete Golding experience. Now, I hope you are prepared for everything that comes along with that. But yeah,
Ups and the
you
downs.
can catch her on Fridays now. Great podcast. She switched days with the Alabama Slam. You can catch them on Wednesdays. Uh, of course, we got Taking It Down still on hiatus. They are back the last week of August. So I guess not this Tuesday, but maybe next. I'm not quite sure about that. Of course, we got other great podcasts. We are a Star Wars. They have been recording a bunch of kind of short 20-minute burst episodes. So if you're a Star Wars fan, check those out. They talked about their favorite Star Wars recently. Talked about whether Disney was good for Star Wars. Which my answer to that is creatively no, content-wise yes. They talked about The Last Jedi, which I'm with. Was it both Corey's? It said that yes, The Last Jedi. I'm all for it. Great movie, by far the best of the new trilogy. But yeah, also we got, did I mention Check Your Shelf? I think I did, and then missing one here somewhere. This song sucks, of course. They're out there, of course, go to thealabamatech.com. Every once in a while, someone will write something. Blaine had a good piece this week about his old library in Sulligent, Alabama, public library. Once again, thank you for listening. Keep yourselves done up real good out there. Greg, have a good one, buddy.
You too, buddy.